I don't even know where to start. I have so much I can't wait to explain to you today. I've been on this hunt, I feel, since over the weekend with Venezuela, and it's all starting just to fall into place. One of the only skills I think God gave me was the completely useless, when the world breaks down, storytelling ability. That's going to get me eaten by week one. They're like, he's out of stories and he looks delicious. The other thing that I do have an ability to do is connect the dots. And I've been on this dot connecting kick here in the last few days, and more dots seem to be appearing. And it's becoming very clear that America, an empire in decline, is not a thing. And I want to take several layers of this, but I want to start with an acronym that you've probably never heard before. Crink. C-R-I-N-K. Crink. What does it stand for? It is what we would call the Axis power. And I have been talking about, we're watching an Axis power being created. I've been saying that forever. Look at the sides are being defined. The Axis power. And it's China, C, Russia, R, Iran, I, and North Korea, Crink. That's the Axis power. And I've been saying, where's Churchill? Where's anybody who, where's the Allied power? Because NATO, that's not a power. That's not going to come in helpful at all. It felt like the entire West was in decline. And it's because we've been talking about decline. We're in decline. Or are we? We elected Donald Trump because we were tired of this, and we're tired of these endless wars and everything else. And Donald Trump had a vision, and he tried to tell me this, for the year leading up to the election. Glenn, I got it. You won't believe how fast we're going to change everything, and we're going to have a new American century. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen quickly. And I didn't understand it. I think I'm just beginning to understand it. He's not building an American empire. He is building something that I think is much closer to what we were hoping for or thought was going to be built in the 1990s when we talked about a unipolar moment, that America was going to lead, but everybody was going to get together because we're all free now. And, we had these hopes of lollipops and sugar plums and everything was going to be great because we won and the science is settled. And we didn't realize that communism just changed uniforms. And we were entering this really very dangerous world because we would get fat and sassy and lazy. Donald Trump is changing and building a new allied power. And I told you a couple of days ago, and I think, we need to really think this through. I think he's given up on Europe. And I think he should give up on Europe, honestly. I mean, they can come to the table at any time. They can change their destiny, and I'd love for them to join. But until they decide they want to survive, they're over. So let me just take you through the things that are happening. And I want to get to Iran and I want to get to Greenland. But let me explain first the power that he is building, what he's building here. Let's start where he started, in the Middle East. We have gone from endless wars to a loosely, U.S. anchored bloc. We're no longer walking in and saying, we're going to do it. We're going to nation build. Instead, he's saying, you know what, this doesn't work, and we'd love to help broker a deal between all of you guys, and, look what you can build. And let me help you with the framework so you can all get along. For 20 years, it feels like America, longer than that. The story of the Middle East was Americans go in, Americans retreat, and Iranians advance, right? Then in the first term, he came with the Abraham Accords. And Israel normalized with the UAE and Bahrain and Morocco. And now it seems like everybody is normalizing relations. And he has taken the entire Middle East, which was available to all of the presidents in the past, but they didn't do it for some reason or didn't get it. They all don't want Iran. They know Iran is dangerous. He just took them all and went, yeah, you guys should all get together because you can actually be a global power and influence, but not with Iran. And so he normalized the relations between them. And it wasn't just a series of photo ops for him. It was he took the U.S. and aligned the economic and security architecture for everybody. Israel, the Gulf, potentially Saudi Arabia, and the U.S. But we're not the ones doing it. We're not the ones that are fighting everybody's battles. That's really important. Now, layer on top of that, the Israelis and Iran went to war, and the only thing that we did was we destroyed their nuclear capability. The other thing we did with Iran, which we didn't have no boots on the ground, no soldiers, no airmen, at risk here. We just stopped sending them pallets of cash. Now what is happening in Iran? Iran is facing the worst economic crisis in modern history. Inflation is now at 52% for this last year. And the rial, which is their dollar, if you will, is now 1.47 million rials to $1. The average Iranian is making $200 a month. You can go in with a US dollar and buy bread for 36 cents. That seems cheap for US dollars, but if you're buying everything in rials, that's 500,000 rials, and you're making $200. Your rent is more than $200. They can't feed themselves. They can't heat their house. They can't do anything. It's almost a free fall, and it's almost Weimar Republic status, okay? So everyone is consumed with just surviving. When you have fear, when you have oppression, that's bad, and that'll get people into the streets. But when they cannot survive, they can't eat, that changes everything. And the axis of resistance, that's Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iraqi militias, the Houthis, all of that, they can't afford to keep all of that together. But now the regime is bringing these people in. They are Arab. The vast majority of people that live in Iran are Persian. Persians are very different than Arabs. They have Arabs now coming in to be the brute force. That's not going to go well. Now, this doesn't immediately create peace, but it is shifting the momentum. So I'm going to come back to Iran here in a minute, but let me just show you now. So you have Israel plus the Sunni Arabs. Iran is weakened, distracted. Russia, China, what's happening there, and North Korea. Let me show you what this means with just North Korea and all of this. With Crink. He's just dismantling these people. It's amazing what's happening so fast. Second point, energy. What has been our biggest problem? Why are we always in these wars? And they always say, well, it's in the American interest. Why? Oil, right? That's been the big argument. Oil, oil, oil. And anybody who is a conservative, or just common sense and doesn't think that oil is the big worst thing that could ever happen. We've all been saying, we have enough oil. Why are we buying our oil from the Middle East? We have enough, okay? Now we need much more because there's a coming energy crisis the world over. But we have had this addiction to oil, and it has been our biggest weakness because everybody can use it against us. We can have, shortages of oil. They can cut us off. We're constantly having to go to war for oil, although we never go to war for oil. We all know we all went to war for oil, okay? Trump came in and said, enough of this, and applied common sense. We're not going to fight over oil anymore. We've got our own oil. But what did he do? He is now making deals all over the world to make sure that we're controlled, like OPEC used to control the world's oil. Our hemisphere is going to control the Western world's energy. Not OPEC, us. That is part of what I called the, what did I say that it was yesterday? The arsenal of democracy, okay? We are preparing for war, whether we like it or not. We are preparing for a massive war. Hopefully, because we're preparing for it, it will never happen. But we are now not the vulnerable importer. We are now the stable producer and the one who is shepherding all of the oil. Did you hear what happened just a couple of hours ago? We have been following this tanker that has been Russian flagged. Okay. Once you flag a ship, then if you flag it Russia, then the Russian Navy can get involved because that's a Russian flagged ship, even though it doesn't belong to Russia. We have been following this ship and trying to stop this oil tanker from bringing oil that should not be going overseas from Venezuela. And we have been trying to track it down. Well, about a few hours ago, maybe 5 hours ago, we caught up with it. Now, Russia was sending ships to protect this because it was a Russian flagged ship. What happened? Our Navy just pulled up to it and boarded it. And that ship is now where it belongs. It's impounded. It was never supposed to be taking oil. It was against international law. We had an embargo on it, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we caught up with it. So we are very, very serious about this. And because of the way Venezuela just happened, American credibility on the war front, the rest of the world, our enemies are freaking out right now. Because even people who are in the military, I shouldn't say in the military, I'm sure they know more, but people who have been watching the military, former military, people that know about the military, even they are looking at it going, how the hell did we just pull this off with Venezuela? How did we beat that? That's Russian, that's China, that's the best technology or some of the best technology that is able to be sold out of those countries. And we shut it down like it was a baby gate. How did we do that? We don't know. Do we have new technology or are they just that bad? Right now, the rest of the world realizes, holy cow, militarily, America is not a declining power. It is way ahead of where we are and where we thought they were. So that alone is changing the dynamics. You don't have to exercise that power if everyone knows you have that power. And everybody goes, you don't want to mess with them. Power comes strength, peace through strength. That is now a proven part of it. And if you look at the pieces that are on the board, I think Cuba's going to, I think in the next year, Cuba will collapse. Because where is Cuba? Cuba can't get any money from Russia. They don't have it. They don't have it. They're busy and tied up in Ukraine. They were supporting. They started cutting Cuba off. Cuba needs the money because communism doesn't work. And so they needed the money. So where did they go? They went to Venezuela and they were getting oil and support from Venezuela and they were providing other things for Venezuela. Well, you just took Venezuela away. So what's Cuba going to do? Where's Cuba? What is China going to do without all of the energy? You can't invade Taiwan without all of that oil. Can't do it. All right, let me continue and show you the world that he is creating. And then I want to bring you up to speed on what happened in Iran, because this is something we have not had a chance to go in depth on. And it's really important because it's not being collapsed by us. I mean, it is, but in all the right ways. We're not sending them pallets of cash anymore. So what does that mean? Brings us back to Crink. And I want to show you why this has happened in the last 12 months. I keep thinking that it's been longer than it is. We're not even at the 12-month point yet. And look how the world is changing. Crazy change. Okay. I'm going to get to Iran here in a second and tell you what's going on and what to watch for. But let me just tell you another thing that he has done. He's building a new era. He is building a new American century. And it's happening so fast. The other thing that he's done, and he's doing it the right way, he is negotiating and making these partners all around the world so we can protect ourselves and our way of life and the Western civilization, honestly. He's pushed $10 billion in critical mineral deals across multiple countries just in the last 12 months. So China has a monopoly on refining. They had all of the rare earth minerals. They had all the cobalt. They had everything. Notice they don't. And why? Because he's been going around the world making deals through pressure and good deal making, one way or another. He'll get it. He's developing this allied power. And we're getting all of the resources we need. And I haven't even told you about the dollar and gold yet. Wait until you hear this. Save the dollar. I think he's on that road.